This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, so today we are going to talk about batch effects. So first, let's understand need of batch. I believe you guys are aware with the synchronous and asynchronous effects, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
so it's all about the governor limit. It's all about the data. When we have data in very large amount, then we go with the asynchronous effects. Because in synchronous effects, we can display max 50,000 records a single transaction. But let's suppose if we have 60,000 records, in that case our transaction will fail, or we need to divide that into the chunks. So another way to achieve this is we can use batch, because we have different governor limits in batch. In SOQL, if I talk about synchronous part, then we have a limit of 100 queries, and in asynchronous apex, SOQL query limit is 200. And using 200 queries in asynchronous apex or batch apex, we can have iterate up to I think 50 million records. So batch is something which runs in backend. Like when you have resources available, then it will execute. Otherwise, it will wait. But what happened in synchronous apex, when you send request, then you wait for response to perform the next transaction. Until you do not have the response, you cannot perform, you cannot proceed. But what is the advantage of batch? That is, you send the request, you don't need to wait for the response. Whenever resources will be available, it will be going to execute in backend. Okay, and we have three methods in batch. But to implement the concept of batch, first we have to implement the interface, batchable interface. Any idea about the batchable interface? Or what is the interface? You guys can talk about any language, .NET, Java,
Sir,
Salesforce.
Like a library, uh, you can say.
sir, we have to override the methods given by the interfaces like start, execute, and the finish.
Okay,
We have, yeah.
but why we use interface? I mean, what do they use? Okay, so to achieve the functionality of abstraction, we use interface, because in Java we can achieve interface using abstract class as well, but we can or cannot use 100% abstraction. But using the interface we can achieve 100% abstraction. So what happen in interface? We have three methods. For example, in batchable interface, we just need to implement that interface and use those methods. If we are implementing any interface that it's a restriction or mandatory, we have to use all the methods of the interface. If we are going, let's say in the interface, batchable interface, we have three methods. If we are going to use only two methods, it won't work. It will be going to throw the error. Like you have to implement all the, you have to use all the methods of batchable interface. Okay, so methods are first start, execute, and finish. So for example, when you are implementing the patchable interface and writing the class, then first method will be start, then execute, then finish. So how it will work, how things work? You call the batch, we don't call any method, we execute the batch, and when we execute the batch, first start method will call. It will be going to query all the records in Salesforce, where we, let's suppose requirement is we want to update all the contacts, and also we want to send the email to all the owners of the contact, and we have data in, let's say, 1 lakh, 2 lakh, or 5 lakhs. So in that case, our synchronous apex won't work because that limit is 50,000. So we can write the batch, and we can update those records using batch, and can also send the email notification to those users. So start method will be going to send all the records to the execute. Now execute method will be going to execute those records in chunks. Let me give you a simple example. Let's suppose you have 1,000 records, and start method will be going to return 1,000 records to the execute method. So execute method won't be going to process all the records in a single transaction. What execute method will do, it will be going to divide those 1,000 records into different 5 chunks, 200 of each, and so total records, let's say 1,000 chunks will be 5, like 200 each. Okay, so it's stateless protocol. Let's suppose first chunk 200. Once it will be done, then let's say status is done, completed. For first chunk, then it will be going to lose this state. Then it won't be, or batch won't be able to recall what were the first 200 records in the first chunk. Let's say in the second chunk, again it's processing 200. Once it's done, then it will be going to lose this state. Similarly with third one, fourth one, fifth one. That means it remember only the current executing state, not the previous one. All the state will lose. You won't be able to identify what were the records in the first chunk, second chunk, third chunk, or fourth chunk. For example, if you want to send the email to the users, so it will be going to keep or remember only those users which were mentioned in the last transaction, not in the first, second, third, fourth. Batch is stateless protocol. So to achieve this, we have another interface. To maintain the state, we have another interface, stateful, database or stateful. And we have to implement this interface. Then once your execute method is completed done, then it will be going to call the finish method, where you can write your emails and logic, or if you need to call another batch you can call from finish. Got it? So this is the short description about the batch.
Okay, sir.
How many of you got it, or
Uh,
how
so
many
can
of
you
you?
so can you please repeat the stateful like it's a kind of interface in which
Yeah,
uh,
this is the interface. First
mhm.
reason is when you are executing the batch, it divides the transaction in chunks. Okay, so you won't be able to identify like what the number of record in first chunk, second chunk, third chunk, but it will be going to lose this state. So to keep all the data on track, to remember all the data of all the chunks, we need to implement the stateful interface
So the stateful interface will be implemented along with the batchable interface or individually like we do
along
that
with the batch.
along with the batch. Okay.
Batchable interface, correct.
Okay. So it will identify like all the batches simultaneously, like
Right,
not for the last order only.
correct. It will be going to keep all the right
Okay.
using the stateful interface. You will be able to identify all the transactions 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay,
Okay,
now
sir.
so let me show you the documentation also. So you need to use, I mean, yes, after the session, you need to go through with this link where you will be having fair idea how things are going on, or what you need to do and how you need to do. So basically, in the batchable interface, we need to implement the batchable interface. Then we have start method. We have two return type for the start method, database.query locator and the iterable. So start method
The
will be going to return.
iterable, what exactly about the iterable? Is it also the interface iterable?
It's a it's a return type.
Iterable
For
as object.
example,
Yeah, got it,
yeah,
sir.
for example, when we write any method, so we used to
Mm-hmm.
provide a return type will be string or list of account, list of contact or void.
Mm-hmm.
Similarly, these are the return type. When we write the start method, either we will be going to use database.query locator or
Mm-hmm.
iterable,
Iterable.
right?
Okay.
And then we have the finish method. We need to pass instance of database or batchable context to these methods.
Okay.
Then finish method. To execute the batch, we use database or execute batch syntax or method to call the batch class. And batch all okay. So when we execute the batch, or when we use database or execute batch, or when we schedule the batch, so there may be total 100 jobs in the queue where 5 jobs will be active. For example, in the same Salesforce org, there are 10 people are working, and all the 10 people, or let's say 15 people are working. So they have written some different batch classes, and at a time they are going to execute those batches. So at a time there may be 100 batch jobs in a queue and 5 active jobs in a queue.
Okay.
Okay,
Uh, so So from where we can view the past jobs, so like from Apex jobs or there's some different link.
We have asynchronous apex concept. We can use that, or the queuable also. Like we can track about, or we can get about the running job using the queuable interface.
Cubable interface. So I think in Cubable, like we have to go Apex jobs, and from there we have to see the
Correct.
all the jobs.
Right, right. So basically, we have asynchronous apex job. We can
Okay,
query on that.
okay, yeah.
Okay. So let's create the batch class now. As I said, let's make it global or public. It's fine. Okay. If I'll try to save it, it won't. You can see it's asking for start, execute, and finish methods. Database query locator again is the return type. So as I said, method name will be same, start, execute, finish. We can use either iterable as return type or the database query locator. We have to pass database to a matchable context instance. Let's write the query here. Let's update something from the org. We have 20 contacts. Let's try to update something common in all the contacts. As for example, let's update this description. Execute method won't return anything. And it accepts two parameters. One is instance of database.batchable context. Another is the list of records which are returning from the start method. Okay. Now, if I try to save it, will I be able, Nikita?
No, no, sir.
Why?
So you need to define finish method as well because it's an interface and you cannot like you need to define all the three methods in an interface.
Okay. And what are the parameters of finish?
Database dot batchable context. Obviously.
Only.
Yes.
Okay. Good. Okay. Now you can see it's saved. So in this execute method, we write all the processing logic. If this list is not equal to null and size is greater than 0, we are just checking for the null. Because if we won't check, and if start method is returning null, in that case it won't work. It will going to throw the exception. Here we have to put a logic for contact obj contact reference, then cite it over the list. What we need to do, we need to put the update the description. Let's put some description from the Google. Now let's execute this batch. We have the database execute method. Using this method, we will be going to call the batch. We need to pass instance of this class, which I mean the same class which you want to run. So it will be going to update the records. For example, description is blank. Let's see. See, you can see we got the we got the description. Though you want to track, you want to see the batch status, you can from the jobs. This was the job which is completed. Batch Apex controller status is completed. Batch job ID is this. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Now we have scheduler because I mean we want execute batch manually. What we do usually we schedule the batch for a particular time. So let's discuss about.
Just have a question.
Sorry.
Uh, I have a question. When we use
Uh,
database.execute batch, we can also give the number of records it can process. So what is the maximum number of records that we can give here?
we divide that into the chunks, not in the records. It can be one, two, three, four, five. That is the optional parameter. Let's say
So
you are
here
going to
it's optional, like 200 is by default, right?
yeah,
After
that
200,
that that is 200, right? But
so if I give 9,000, like
okay,
it will take, yeah,
no, we cannot give 9,000. That is the scope variable which you are talking about, and that can be maximum five. Let's say if you are going to you have 10,000 records, and you have defined in that variable you are passing two. In that means like you want only two transactions, 5,000, 5,000. But what system will do, it will be going to divide automatically into the different chunks.
okay,
So we won't put that limit. We just pass like how many number of transactions there will be.
okay.
Okay, so let's talk about the schedulable. So schedulable again is an interface which we need to implement. So for that we need to write the different class. So basically to invoke Apex classes to run at a specific time, we use schedulable. So for that we need to implement schedulable interface, and we have a method here, similar execute method. Implements schedulable, and we have method global void.
सर सर ये स्टेटलेस होता है कि स्टेटफुल होता है?
क्या सर?
Is it stateless or stateful?
It depends on your batch. If your batch is stateful, then it will be stateful, otherwise stateless. Here we need to do same thing to call the batch. Okay, now we can schedule it for a specific time. Let's see how we can schedule. Go to the Apex from here, Apex classes. We have a schedule Apex. We just return one class. Let's pick the class name. There is only one which we have just created. We can schedule for a specific time. That's if you want to execute it on Sunday or Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, whatever the day you want for a particular time. Prefer time you want to start this one. When I mean, if you want to run it to 2020, 2021, you can just save it. Okay, schedule will never run. Mhm. Well, start date and end date was same for that. So we have schedule that. Go to the jobs, schedule jobs. So this is my schedule jobs. So it will be going to execute for a particular time period. Okay. So guys, any more question on that?
सर एक क्वेश्चन है मेरा सर
Yeah,
जैसे
tell.
हमने बैच सर जैसे हमने वी हैव written the logic in the batch right so can we also write this same logic in
No, sir.
schedulable interface or okay we can just call the batches from here
We just call the batch.
okay
Okay, anyone, any doubt, any question here?
No, sir.
Naresh, just one question here. Like, we can use schedule jobs to schedule a batch. Apart from scheduling a batch, what else can we schedule? Like, and like, what are the use cases for using the schedule class except for batch?
Hmm. Okay. So basically, we can only schedule the batch. First thing. Okay, let me give you one assignments so you guys can work on that. For example, let's say in IBM there are 1 lakh employees are working, and it might be each day there are 500 employee, 1,000 employee, or 5,000 employees who have birthday. Correct. If HR or anyone is going to send the birthday wishes manually, it will be going to a hectic task. So what you need to do, you need to automate the process. And how you can automate? From the employee database, you can make a query for all the employees. You can put the filter. If birthday date is today's, okay, then you can, okay, if birthday date is today, you can filter out all the employee records, and in the execute method you can process those. You don't need to update anything, you just need to take out the IDs using the database or stateful, either email ID or the contact ID. You just pass those in the finish method and send the email to the to all the employees which you got in the filter in the query. Now let's suppose you have written the batch, but how you can automate this? Like it should run for a specific time period, or it should run at daily basis, weekly basis, monthly basis. So for that we need to create the schedulable class, and we need to schedule that class for a specific time. Let's say 12 1 a.m, 12 to 12 to whatever you want to, you can schedule that. So at a specific time it will be going to run, and it will be going to query all the records. Then we'll send the email notification for the birthday wishes. That is a use case. Another use case is, let's suppose you are working on some module where you think there are many records which are not in use since last 2 years, 3 or 4 years. Okay, so you want to delete those records. Once you need to identify where last modified is I mean, those records which are not modified since last 2 years or not are in any use based on some filter conditions. So we can query those records, we can read in the execute method, and we can schedule that weekly or monthly or daily. It will be going to execute the batch on daily basis or monthly basis or weekly basis, and we'll be going to delete the garbage data. There's another scenario, another use case. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Anyone, any doubt? Any more question?
No, sir.
Okay, then fine, guys. So thanks for joining. Let me share this.
So
सर
okay.
ये वीडियो अपलोड कर दोगे इंटरव्यू का
Okay.
सर एक
इसमें
बार
तो
वो
इंटरव्यू
सर एक बार वो स्टेटफुल का और बता दीजिए सर। और आप बता रहे थे सर कि हाउ
Just
वी
take
कैन
it.
हाँ
What we need to do, simple. By putting the comma, we need to do this. Database or stateful. Sorry, I put it at wrong place.
yeah, it should be there batch.
Put here.
batch.
So we cannot update, modify this as we have scheduled the class. So first we need to delete this schedulable.
It can be deactivated also, or like we have to directly delete the.
We can delete that and we can reschedule. It can be deactivated. But if your job is running or scheduled, you cannot modify that. So this is how we can implement. And guys, please go through with this link. I think I have sent you already. Yes, go through with the link. It has many interview questions at the bottom side. These are the things about the governor limits, about the best practices. People ask many questions. If you go through with these, I mean, with this tutorial only, you will be able to answer 60 to 70% things.
Okay, sir.
Okay, guys, thanks for joining. We'll be going to connect in next week now.
Right.
Okay.
Thank you.
So you have sufficient time to complete all the pending items, pending assignments.
Okay.
Today I gave you 2 assignments, right?
Yes, sir.
One is to display, I mean, one is this one. On the basis of checklist values, you need to display account records or contact or opportunity. There will be only one section at a time. Another is you need to send the email notification for birthday wishes
Back
to all
again.
the employees.
Yes, sir.
Okay, chalo, bye bye. Thanks for joining.
Right. Thank you.